All right, guys, good evening. I'm James Lamplow, and this is Mr. Jarrett Long. We're here for Novak News this evening, talking a little bit about what has changed from the first COVID to COVID currently, 9 different things from COVID then to COVID now. Stay tuned. Jarrett Long, good evening. Thanks for joining us for Novak News. Mate, how are you tonight?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Ooh, no worries, man. We've got a little bit of delay there, but hopefully that'll clear itself out. So, guys, as I said a moment ago, Novak News this evening is talking a little bit about what's different between COVID then and COVID now, some of the observations that we're finding down on the ground in the industry, some of the things that we'd love to tell you about. So look, Jarrett, let's just jump straight into it. We've got we could probably talk about 9,000 different things, but COVID then to COVID now, it's a very different situation. Previously, I think most people would agree that at the beginning, we were in uncharted waters. We didn't know what was going to happen from one day to the next. We've been very lucky. Very, very lucky, I think, so far to have done as well as we have. But unfortunately, into lockdown, not for the first time again. It's a little bit different, but I think we're finding that people are a little bit more well equipped for what we're having to go through. We learned the hard way last time round, or maybe not even the hard way compared to a lot of people out there in the world. But there's a lot of things that are a bit different. So something that's it's probably the first thing to say. We're prepped, we're ready, we know what to do. The protocol is there, the legislation and regulations are out in place for us to follow. Jarrett, from then to now, do you think that we're bearing with it or coping with it better or worse? Or what would you sort of say just in terms of how we as a community are handling it?
Yeah, look, I think now this isn't the first lockdown. It's starting to become people's nature now. Like, we're understanding how the lockdown works. It's almost a deja vu. People know really what to do and what not to do. The rules around it, the safety precautions. Everybody's kind of getting a bit used to it. It's becoming a part of everybody's life now. And, on the beaches, everyone is used to being out and about all the time. And people are now starting to learn, that things are changing.
Yeah. And even with tonight's show, typically we'd be having our we'd be sat side by side. We're not side by side tonight. We're just abiding by these 4-meter rules. I think someone was creeping up behind you at 1.6 meters then, but he's popped away. So yeah, things are different. We're all having to juggle different balls, and I think we're a little bit more well equipped for it. So that's certainly one thing. Number 2. Vaccination. We do have a widespread rollout of the vaccination now. There's more certainty than we had previously. Last time around, we didn't have a clue what was going to happen, as I said, from one day to the next. So that's just another thing, I think, just for general peace of mind in the community, at least that we do have these things in place, not just up safety precautions, but we are getting vaccinated. The community will hopefully be pretty close to becoming fully vaccinated in the next 3 to 6 months, I think. But that's giving people a lot of confidence and a lot more ability to get out and sort of do what they need to do within the confines of abiding. So yeah, that's a big one. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a confidence boost to people the way I see it. It's less of a big scary thing now. People are starting to take it in their stride. We have the vaccines coming out, separate vaccines that, obviously one does, there's the theory that it promotes blood clots in some age groups. So now we have the various ones, different for every age group. And, it's definitely providing a lot of people with that confidence to still go about their lives, to not be, bearing that on them all the time. So it's definitely a good thing now that we have the vaccines coming out. The economy starting to build back up very slowly, get the bricks going again. But yeah, overall, I think, like you said, the vaccines, massive difference coming into the second lot of our lockdown.
Yeah, it's huge. And again, it just takes like sorry, we got someone moonwalking behind us. Just you every day what happens at Novak Properties. This time round, economically, just talking, I'm certainly no economics pro. Got a fire drill as well. There's a little bit more confidence around the economy at the moment. I think at the beginning we saw it all just hit the fan essentially, but it was only a month or so ago I saw something that was saying that we're actually back into a stronger economy than we were previously. So we've bounced right back. Now, that was just before this lockdown. In terms of real estate, in terms of what's happening, how it's changing people's behaviors, just from a buying and selling and a renting and leasing perspective, guys, just to give you a little bit of clarity, Jarrett here is one of our residential leasing absolute extraordinaires. So he's seeing it all here down in the trenches. I'm involved in the sales team. So we're seeing two different sides of what's happening in the market. But last time round, numbers were really, really low to start off with. From a sales perspective, numbers are sky high. In fact, they're actually higher, I'm noticing, which is, can't quite work it out yet, but we're getting bigger numbers through our scheduled one-to-one appointments than we would have otherwise if we were sort of, well, certainly back then in COVID 1.0. But there's certainly not fear of getting out. People know what to do, as we said. And apologies if we reiterate a couple of the things that we've already discussed tonight, but there's confidence that we can get out and do what we need to do. Real estate is an essential service. People need a roof over their head. People need to be able to put a roof over their head if they're in a situation where they're in between properties or looking for something. So I'm seeing big numbers on the sales side of things. Jarrett, are we getting that on the rentals? We're not doing open homes, but on our private one-to-one basis, are we getting many people interested and booking in for inspections, or are they staying and hiding away in their shells?
Look, it varies. So there's two different sides to the rental market at the moment. You have the houses, which the demand for that's through the roof. Numbers, one-on-ones, appointments, everything for those listings. As soon as they come on the market, they disappear basically. And now on the other side of the rentals market, looking at units or very small properties, the demand for those have actually dropped quite a bit. Obviously coming into winter, it does cool off quite a bit. People aren't looking to move around as much. I did a bit of research into it, and realestate.com.au is actually saying just due to this COVID that's been in place, the COVID lockdown from the 2nd until now, has had a drop of 7% in the demand for, the searching for real estate, rental properties.
Back quickly as well. Sorry, go on.
Exactly. So it's bouncing back. I thought it would have been a lot worse, but the market's carrying quite strongly at the moment. Still that demand there for the properties. People are looking to get out of the cities. They're able to work from home. They don't have to do that commute anymore, and especially with this lockdown, it lets them get their feelers out a bit and have a look around what's available. So it's definitely carrying on stronger than it was previously, which is great to see on our side of the fence.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There's always sort of ebbs and flows of the market, and it heats up and it cools down, and you can never quite predict what was going to happen. But certainly from a sales perspective, last year there was 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks of nervousness and anticipation around to what was going to happen, and we've fallen into one of the biggest property booms that we've seen for a very, very long time, probably longer than the amount of time we've spent on this earth, Jarrett. We're, in our mid-20s here. And so it's interesting. We're seeing it actually now sort of going back to that point of numbers being good. Market activity is increasing, not decreasing. Again, no one would have expected it, but we actually are sort of predicting a little bit that we think it's going to start to soar again, where we saw certainly in the sales and the housing side of the market. It had started to drop off a little bit. I think there might be a bit of a resurgence coming along. In terms of the rentals went ballistic through COVID last time. There was such a heavy demand for people to get into rentals properties. And I think that came from a big tree change sort of perspective. we've lost a lot of people on the northern beaches because they're relocating away. They're looking to go north, chasing the sun, maybe trying to avoid some of the property prices down here. But I think it's going to happen again. So, we've lost a lot of great northern beaches residents to these parts, but we're getting a lot of people in. A lot of the buyers that are coming along, they're not necessarily from the northern beaches. And I think that's been the case with the rentals as well, that people saying, I don't need to work in the city anymore. I've got my license to work from home. Let's go find somewhere down by the water. Let's find a different lifestyle. Let's try and, take aside from work,
Exactly.
put the other priorities first. So that's been a big one as well. So you're talking a little bit about demand on the beaches, Jarrett. Are we still seeing properties? So you mentioned that, properties are still leasing pretty quickly. Have you seen in the last week any change? Is it being or are we just taking it day by day?
Yeah, look, at the moment, the market's strong. The time in the market is still very short. Even though it is between the units and the houses, both are still flying off the market at the moment. Usually during this winter time, like I said previously, it does slow down quite a little bit. But in terms of days on market, the properties are still going off in a quite a quick turnover. People are still looking for their dream property or fresh start. Especially during the lockdown, everyone's stuck inside. People are looking to have a fresher view or a different, set of scenery. So it's a very exciting time still. It's the first time that I've ever worked in a pandemic. It's exciting to see how the market's moving around with it.
Yeah, right. And I think this is probably another tangent I don't want to necessarily go down tonight, but the importance of having a good property manager at the moment is sky high. I think there's probably been a lot of people that have maybe had underperforming agents, and that's probably on both sides of the market, but there's underperforming property managers that have really gone through, don't get me wrong, property managers have had a tough time through COVID. They were smashed with all sorts of different work, different to their usual sort of plight, I guess. But now more than ever, especially with having everyone gone through COVID, now we're sort of COVID-1, should I say. We're going back into a next round of it. If you don't have a good property manager who's protecting your asset, who's looking after your tenants, who's, doing all of these little bits and pieces that they need to do, they need to be more prompt than ever. So anyway, that's another topic that we could probably both go way into down that rabbit hole. But good property manager during a pandemic, I think you'll certainly find that
important.
Yeah, like you'll find that you'll probably see and hear that actually that's probably not normal what was happening, or they've been excellent and they'll probably be with you for a very long time. So anyway, another interesting thing to note. What would you say, Jarrett, just in terms of the treatment, I guess, of the people that we're meeting, the buyers, prospective buyers, the prospective tenants? Do you think the service that they're getting is different now to previously? So what I mean by that is typically we'd say you've got a Wednesday open home, you've got a Saturday open home, come along to that, see the property, be one of the sheep within the crowd, Do you think that they're still getting that treatment, or are these people getting a little bit more one-to-one attention, better conversations, or is it sort of still just the same, just get them in, get them out?
Definitely different. Like you said, nowadays it's all one-on-ones that we're taking through during this lockdown. So, prospective tenants, prospective buyers really have that solid one-on-one time where they can ask questions about every single nook and cranny about the house, have a decent conversation and find out, the needs, the wants of prospective buyers and tenants, and, have a proper quality time with the property that they're viewing. The treatment, I think, at the moment with, prospective tenants and buyers is definitely a lot better. I like to see it how it is. People are definitely spending a lot more quality time in properties now than, like you said, rather being a sheep in a herd that's popping in, popping out. Now you can actually get your feelers properly into the market and have a decent look.
Yeah. And I think another point that sort of goes on from that is, depending on the situation people have been in, people want, they want someone to talk to. There might be people that are, they haven't been able to leave their home, not so much this time around because it's a shorter lockdown, but there are people that were really struggling with, lack of touch, lack of communication. And I think if each and every single prospective tenant and buyer, more so than ever before, is having that personalized experience, hopefully it means everyone's more satisfied, finding better tenants, sourcing better properties for people, getting to understand, their wants and needs, as you mentioned. That's absolutely massive. And if there's a little bit more onus on the people, the agents who are looking after them to make that effort, again, just like I said before, these little attributes of what you as an agency or an agent or a person are doing and giving back to people, that stuff's remembered. People remember you by the service that you do give them, or they remember you by the service that you didn't give them, and they'll know not to come back to you. So again, big things here.
Yeah, exactly. It's the time period now where the true morals of companies, really shine through when you have that time where it's just focused on, prospective tenants and buyers. All the focus is on them. So it's a really special time, and I think it's a great opportunity for both sides, both parties to really experience, a much better experience when looking to buy or rent.
Yeah, and it's huge. It's a big decision. I mean, whether it is buying or renting, there's no difference, from our perspective. You deserve to be treated just as well as the next person, no matter what you're doing. And people probably aren't used to that. So I know that's certainly something that we've put big focus into, making sure that attention to detail from every single person that we meet, or that inquires or that phones, all these little things. There's more openness to giving that service, where I know previously it might have been a little bit different. So again, it's changing times, and people are learning how to react to these times that we're in. And for the most part, hopefully we're upskilling, not downskilling. We're getting better at it. And it's all about the sort of engagement that you're giving people. So that's a big one. Tenanted properties versus vacant properties. What are you finding since the lockdown? We've got 40 properties or 50 properties for lease at any given time. A percentage of those properties are probably ones where a tenant is vacating and we're looking to run an open home, or in this case, private appointments before they vacate. The tenants have a little bit more power over their say as to sort of access, no access. Are you finding that most tenants are still being pretty open to it, or is there a bit of a fright on that side in regard to people coming into your property? Is there any more scared? Well, you know what I mean. Is there any more reluctance to be open to that at the moment?
Yeah, it's there's definitely more reluctance now. I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of a tenant, someone, prospective buyer or tenant coming through your house, it's a big deal, especially if you have a family that's under the same roof. If you are vacating the property, the property is going on the market. There's certain tenants that feel as though they don't feel comfortable with tenants, prospective tenants coming in, and if so, there's a lot of guidelines that we go by. So there's a lot of sanitation, tons of respect for the tenants that are currently in there. But back to your question, there's definitely a big change in the attitudes of current tenants. A lot of them are expecting prospective tenants to have vaccinations done, or they're hesitant on people coming through the property, which at the end of the day does unfortunately increase the time that those properties are on the market whilst they are currently tenanted. So they usually get swooped up like that as soon as they vacant, because it allows more of a volume of prospective tenants and buyers to go through the property.
Yeah, right. And that's something I hadn't thought about, actually. Being asked whether or not people have been vaccinated, whether that would have any indication of whether they would be allowed through or not. That's a big one. And I think that'll probably be a little bit more widespread across sort of the clued up tenants, maybe, or the ones that sort of follow the industry and know a little bit of the rules and regulations around it. But that's a big one. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Quite interesting to see.
Yeah, well, this is it, and look, we see it firsthand, and we take it for granted that we know more than your average Joe Bloggs probably would in relation to the real estate industry. So for us, this is normal information, but hopefully for some of the people who are listening or get a chance to listen, hopefully there's something in here that they take, whether you are a buyer or a seller or a tenant or anyone within. But sort of on what you mentioned there, it's a collaboration at the end of the day. You've got to work together for, for everyone's results. The tenants are looking to get out peacefully and find a new place. We can help them with both sides of that. We want to make the process as easy for people as possible. But yeah, there's certainly a synergy with us working together with the tenants, or just as we would do with the buyers and the prospective tenants. So there's a lot of different things that we're juggling to try and keep everyone happy and to do everything safely. And I think probably for a last point, Jarrett, number 9, something that I'm sure everyone is knowing all about what to do, how to react to this. But what are we doing in terms of just making sure that everyone is COVID safe? What are we putting into place before people, come into any properties? I noticed something on one of our booking systems that they're now having a COVID related checklist, which is saying, have you been overseas in the last 14 days? Have you had to quarantine or self-isolate? Have you been in there's a couple more things to it, but people aren't just allowed to book in. There really is a system of, you need to be upfront and forthcoming about where you've been, who you've been with, all of these things. So this information is gold at the moment.
Yeah, we have a whole system implemented to ensure that properties are shown in a safe manner to protect both ourselves, the prospective tenants, buyers, and the current tenants in the property. So like you said, we do have those qualifying questions to start off with, just to actually qualify you to view the property, which we think is a massive deal. We need to know, the situation that's at hand. And then furthermore, when they're coming into the property, we do have, the QR codes, the registering system. We do have sanitizers, masks, everything that is required to view a property properly. We have set out and ready to go.
Yeah. Even things like making sure that people aren't touching, it sounds stupid, but people are so eager to open a window, open a door. There's a lot of responsibility to make sure that these things are being abided by. So again, having a good leasing agent, having a good property manager, having a sales agent that is really following these regulations, that goes a long way. And we're meeting a lot of people, we're seeing a lot of people. Like I said before, they remember you for your behaviors as well. Whether you give them a good service or a bad, I think just like anything, they remember the really bad, which could be an agent that's not following these protocols, or they'll remember the really good, because these people might go to 5 different open homes with 5 different agencies and have 5 different experiences. You can bet that they're going to have a little bit more trust in that agency that's going the little extra mile to abide.
Exactly. And we realize here at Novak that we're showing homes. We're not just showing, places for people. We're showing homes. This is where people are going to live. This is where people are going to, feel safe and want to enjoy. So we respect that for every side, that's involved. Both the owners, it's their asset. One of the largest financial assets, as well as on the sales side, that's someone's home. So we really respect that and treat it, with the proper amount of respect and courtesy that comes along with it.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, look, we've whizzed through that 9 different points. Hopefully, this is all information that people know. If it's not, hopefully you can pick something up here from whatever angle you're looking at it from. Like ever, guys, if you've got any questions, please reach out to us. We want to help you. We want to educate everyone that we can on these little systems that have been put in place. And just know that we are looking out for our community as best we can in every single way. I think that's a wrap, Jarrett.
You? Awesome. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And like you said, hopefully you guys took away some points from it. But if there's anything outstanding, we're always here to help.
Thanks, man. All right. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jay.